Hi everybody, welcome to Bike Revs. I'm Mark, and I don't know about you guys, but I've just been celebrating Christmas. I know it's not for everyone, but I celebrate it, and I've been enjoying my Christmas presents, some of which are bike related. It got me thinking, like, what did you guys get in your Christmas stockings that's bike related? Leave your comments below and let me know, because I'm genuinely interested. Now, as for me, well, it starts off with this jumper, which may not sound much like a biking present, and in fact it's actually from the Damart catalogue, or the Damart catalogue, which I've talked about before on the channel. Now, this is the catalogue for the discerning pensioner who wants to stay warm during the winter. Now, what that means is it's not really a biking jumper, it's actually just there to keep people really warm, and it is the warmest jumper I've ever had. Not only that, it's really uncomplicated around the neckline, so I can wear my biking jacket and it doesn't interfere with it. So it's a fantastic thing. I've been out in it already, kept me really lovely and toasty warm, and is keeping loads of pensioners warm in their homes as well. So that's a great piece of kit. Great on the bike, but if you're out on the pull or something like that, I guess this one isn't really for you. Now, the other things that I've got in my Christmas stocking are these riding boots, and I've got a bit of a bee in my bonnet, so I'm going to have a bit of a rant about these boots. Now, I bought them, probably the first thing I bought when way back, sort of 3.5 years ago, when I was buying my 125. I think I bought my helmet and then I bought myself a set of boots, and it was the worst piece of advice that I've ever had since I started motorbiking. Now, what was the advice? Well, what they said to me in the shop was, get a size that's a size bigger than you normally buy. Now, I'm a size 8, and I've been a size 8 for about the past 40 years, and I think probably every single pair of shoes I've ever owned has been size 8, and yet they forced me, well, they didn't force me, they persuaded me into buying a pair of size 9 boots, and sure enough, walking around the shop, these were actually more comfortable than the size 8. But of course, you're not wearing these to walk around a shop or indeed to walk anywhere. You're buying them to keep you safe on a motorbike. And actually, 3 or 4 months down the line, once they've broken in, you know, they're nice and flexible, they've got a crease there, and they've blended themselves to my feet, and they're now, well, much too big, and they slop around on my feet. And honestly, they are just too loose. So it was really bad advice. Okay, it was comfortable to start with, but buying a set of boots which is a size too big for you is not a good idea, because they sit on my feet, and I feel quite sure that if I was to have a crash and go sliding down the road, these would come straight off my feet and they wouldn't provide me with any protection at all. So I've been riding with that risk for some time, and now also the Velcro's pretty much gone on these, so for another reason they would probably come flying off my feet. So these are no good, and instead I've got a nice new set of boots which I got for Christmas. Now, these are, funnily enough, exactly the same boots, because despite that bad advice about, you know, buying a pair that are size too big, what I did this time was buy a pair of size 8s. Okay, they fit a little more snug on my feet, they're not as comfortable to walk around in, but you know what? These are not going to come flying off the end of my feet if I go sliding down the road, so I'm really pleased with them. They're a really nice fit. And as I'm starting to break them in now, I've worn them a couple of times, and actually they are just starting to get a little bit looser on my foot, and they're fitting perfectly. So that whole advice about a size too big, I don't buy it. So once again, I've gone with these Track Tech Evo 3 boots, which are fully waterproof. There's different versions of it, but this is the waterproof one. And what I found with those, and already I found with these, is that they are absolutely 100% waterproof. Not only that, they keep your feet quite cool in the summer because they're breathable, and they keep your feet really warm in the winter. So I was out yesterday, we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute, but I was out yesterday and they kept me bone dry and really warm. I'm just so dead impressed with these boots. Bought exactly the same ones twice, but now they fit me properly, so I'm made up with that. Now, just one other present I'll talk to you about. So the last thing that I got that I want to talk about is this book, which is called The Cotswolds Wrecking Crew by a chap called John Beaumont. Now, I'm not affiliated to this book in any way, don't know who John Beaumont is, but this book is all about a group of guys going out on their motorbikes around the Cotswolds and doing lots of social media. Now, I haven't read it yet, but it's definitely got potential. I've read the first couple of pages, sounds really good. So there's one you might consider for your next Christmas stocking. So that's Christmas pretty much done. Those are my 3 biking presents, and I'm happy with that. Now, as we go into New Year, managed to get one last ride in at the end of the year. It's been a really strange year for group rides, because we did our little trip through France and Spain, and we had a great time, 6 of us. But since then, we haven't really got together and ridden at all. 1 or 2 of us have gone out together every now and then, but it's just not been quite right this year. So we managed to get, well, at least 5 of the 6 together, and we went off this weekend to a place called the 5 Zeros. So this is 5 Zeros in Bradford-on-Avon, just southeast of Bath, not the Bradford in West Yorkshire. Now the idea is that people who have bought supercars and need somewhere to keep them can bring the cars here, where they're kept warm, clean and dry. They seem to do corporate events too and have a lovely bar area upstairs on the mezzanine overlooking everything. Of course, the grey and washed, such as myself, can come and just wander in and have a look around. It doesn't cost anything. And there's a great little cafe, so you can have a bite to eat and decide which of those vehicles that you can't afford would you take home if you could. Now, apparently, the cafe is normally great service and excellent food, as several of the guys that have been there before would testify. Although we got there on a very busy day and they weren't really expecting it, and if I'm honest with you, it really wasn't the best. Still, a great ride down there, about 1 hour 20 minutes from Gloucester, beautiful cars, and just nice to be out with the boys again. There are also bikes in 5 Zeros, so what we've got here is the Triumph Rocket with a lovely polished silver tank, a BMW M1000R, we've got a Gixxer 1000, and my favourite, the Ducati Panigale. Now of the cars, I've got to say that I like this Ferrari the most, and also there's a couple of Lamborghinis. Now you'll notice the number plates on these, JE62 MER on that blue Lamborghini, and then across the orange one, and again we've got JE68 MER. So the same person owns that Ferrari and these two Lambos. Any ideas who that might be? I'd like to know. Back out to the car park then, and you can see that we had a really mucky ride down with loads of rain and bad roads, but we were still loving it. And then before we know it, it's time to start ripping our way back to Gloucester. So a happy new year to you all. What's on for next year? Well, firstly, I need a new rear tyre. Just about worn this one out. So I've got the new one on order. It's going to arrive in the next few days, and I'll be making the most of burnouts whilst the old one's still on. I know I'm going to grow up at some point, but you've got to do it. In the next week or so, I've got to get this bike through an MOT, and then I've either got to make a decision to sell it or to get it into a 20,000 mile service. Now, I still haven't decided on that one, so thinking it over. Later in the year, I'm off to the Isle of Man TT for race week in June. We're planning a few more trips, so let's see how all that pans out. And also, got to try and get my wife through the bike test as well, so looking forward to that. So anyway, what I have got to say is just thanks to everybody who's been watching the channel over the last few years. I've finally got myself to 1,000 subscriptions, and we're well past that now, which is absolutely fantastic. So thank you so much. Right, I'll see you all soon, and don't forget, as always, keep those chains oiled.